Get your stakes and silver bullets ready because we're talking classic monsters today on Podcast Demastered. Welcome to the show, listeners. I'm your host, Ethan Meyer, and I'm joined, as always, by my two very good friends, Wade and Chelsea. And today marks our 20th episode of the podcast. And with that, with that, all I can say is, wow, I'm surprised we have made it this far. So,
I mean,
how do you guys feel about 20 episodes in?
20 episodes of Dragon Ball? That's pretty awesome. That's what I'm here for.
Well, I was going to say I had faith in that, but then you guys said Dragon Ball, so... But I'm still here.
That's the most surprising thing of all, probably. 20 episodes. 20 episodes deep.
I'm not sure if I should be really offended by that, or...
We haven't chased Chelsea off yet.
We haven't,
so
we haven't chased you away. I want you here. I'm surprised you've tolerated us for 20 episodes.
Yes, indeed.
That's basically all I'm saying. I feel like maybe 8 episodes in, the Dragon Ball references kind of took a dip, so maybe that's why, but...
I don't know. If she watched Dragon Ball, she understood the references, she might enjoy it a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah. Just think of it this way. The next 20 episodes, we're going to amp it back up. So,
yep.
Just letting the audience know.
Well, we'll do a check-in to still see if I'm still here, right?
Mental health check for Chelsea every few episodes.
Yeah, at our 40th episode, we'll have a memorial for the fact that Chelsea's no longer on the podcast.
Oh my gosh.
A memorial for no longer talking about Dragon Ball.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have our Dragon Ball eulogy episode. Well, we've let's veer off from Dragon Ball talk. We'll save that for our next pod. We'll just do a Dragon Ball podcast at this point.
Just a side one. Spin-offs.
You guys can have your
spin-offs.
A little.
Yep. A little side project. We'll talk offline. Today we are actually continuing our October Halloween spooky themed episodes, and we've already talked about favorite Halloween candy, and we've talked Disney villains. So today we're actually kicking it old school, and we're gonna just talk about just some classic monsters in all sorts of entertainment formats, from literature to comics, video games, film, TV. It's all on the table. So we picked out 4 monsters that we're going to talk about. They are vampire, werewolf, ghost, and zombie. If any of your favorite didn't make that list, you can DM me. And I know there's still a lot of what people can, classic monsters, Frankenstein's monster, you have the Mummy, you have the Invisible Man, witches, ghouls, and there's all kinds of stuff out there, and I get that. These are just the 4 that are probably best represented across a variety of mediums, so it kind of gives us more of a variety to talk about. So kind of the conceit of the episode is we're kind of going to take turns, and we're going to talk about each monster, and we're going to talk about our favorite and least favorite incarnation or representation of each throughout. If my favorite incarnation of a vampire is in a certain book, I will talk about that. It doesn't necessarily mean that's my favorite book. It just is my favorite, representation of a vampire in that book, if that makes sense. Listeners, I'm sure you'll catch on as we get going, but just kind of laying the foundation here, laying the groundwork. So with that being said, does anybody want to, be the brave one and go first? Let's go. Actually, I'm gonna make this easier for everyone.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I mean,
host duties.
If you want a jumping off point, I can go for it, because I think I'll have the loudest response. I think.
Okay.
Are we starting?
I think I know where you're going with. I think I know where you're going with this. So we'll go. Are we starting with
vampires?
We'll go ahead and start with vampires.
Okay, excellent. Most excellent. Okay, we're just gonna get this off the table. I'm gonna at myself right here. It's whatever. My favorite use of vampires, and when I was doing this, my thought was, well, you either have like regular vampires, like all the vampires are all the same, or you have different kinds of vampires. Like the trope of vampire has changed, and I went with that. And my favorite use of vampire in media is the vampires from Twilight. I think they're super cool. I'm not saying that the story is amazing by any stretch of the imagination, but I think the use of vampires in such a different light is pretty neat, in the fact that sometimes they come up with like individual powers and stuff like that. I guess it'd be more modern, maybe, but I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me reset my brain here for a second.
I'm waiting for Chelsea to attack.
Yeah, it's hard to separate my bias towards that series and just like focus in on the vampire aspect of it.
Absolutely agreeable. Yes.
Especially since I didn't read the books.
That it would be helpful if you read the books, because in the movies they're just kind of like moping, edgy, whining teens, kind of.
Yeah.
With bad speed effects.
Oh yeah.
In the books they go a lot more in depth into like the history and biology and stuff of vampires. It makes it a little more tolerable, I think.
Yeah. Chelsea, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna sit back.
Well,
for this
talking about like unique vampires and stuff. Not that this is my favorite like interpretation of them, but you're talking about like ones that have like unique abilities and everything. Wade, are you familiar with the manga series Vampire Knight?
You just awoke a memory within me from like middle school, and I don't appreciate that. Actually, just now I have like the opening of the anime screaming in my ears. It's all like traumatic now.
I'm like, I never watched the anime. I read all the manga. Yeah, and
sorry, you guys talking about manga and anime vampires. Wade, what was that one anime? Was it Hellsing? But they did the abridged version, or like
yes.
I may have to change my answer.
I might have to change my answer too.
Just that character.
Yeah, no, Hellsing abridged the titular character, like not the titular character, but the main character is a vampire, and the portrayal in that abridged series is just terrific.
Yeah,
just terrific.
Sorry, Chelsea, not to steal the line.
That's okay.
I just thought of that.
But why don't you?
Well, I'll
remind me and tell Ethan about these vampires, because they are really cool. But remind me.
Yeah, so like the whole premise in Vampire Knight is basically like, it's kind of like the teen like story to read. So you have like the day class, so that's like the normal humans, and the night class is actually like vampires. But what's interesting about the vampires is like they have different classes. There's like the pureblood families, and then there's like lower down versions of all the vampires, and the purebloods are the ones with the most powers and like the most abilities. And when they like awaken their powers or something, I think they can turn, I don't know if like they have a specific like power, like they all have their own unique abilities, and even within the same families of vampires, they all have different abilities and what they can control and everything. And so you have a lot of drama with that, and then lots of like the vampire hunters versus the like pureblood vampires, and then all the lower beings, because I don't know. It's just it's been a long time. It's just crazy. Right. There's just different classes, crazy purebloods, and then there's like the crazy vampires that are like.
So this is like Vampire pure. X-Men.
No.
Not really.
This is like social classes, like rich people and like peasants.
They're like fancy vampires.
Yes.
But it's like a shoujo anime, so it's also very like petite, and I don't know, how'd you say not feminine necessarily, but kind of. You know,
I
everybody's
mean, it's
very
definitely
pretty.
written for
You
that.
know, which is the point, the whole point. But
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
And
it's
yeah,
like-
the vampires are very pretty, and they become vampires. I'm pretty sure they become prettier in a sense, or certain like features are more prominent, I guess.
but the action is really cool, and there's like, of course, tons of blood because it's a vampire thing. But it's all like classy, artsy blood.
Oh, classy blood.
Yes, very
Classy.
much so.
Like classy pure blood spraying around.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds cool. There's
So
I'm gonna go ahead and throw this out there for the listeners who are already 10 minutes in screaming at their phone or laptop about how, you know, this vampire lore came before this one, and that's not actually original trope. This is let's cast that all aside. We're not worried about who came first and who's original and what's, you know, this is just going to be what we like, and that's just kind of where that's going to end. So just want to go ahead and throw that out there. So if you guys have your, you know, favorite vampires or, you know, the next ones, you can send them to us, and we will look at those. So, but we're not. This isn't timeline. You know, who wrote it first, because we're not going to get into that. You know, this isn't a history lesson. This is.
yeah. But I was gonna say that basically the Vampire Knight, there was just, you reminded me by the whole classes and things, and I think that's a little bit more well done, but that's not my favorite
Oh shit! We got.
interpretation of
Oh
vampires.
no. Well, what's your
okay.
favorite one?
I don't know. I like the kind of very classic, the vampire, you know, that fears sunlight, you know, could get like burned and destroyed. It can turn into like animals, like a bat, and drinks blood. The one that is a very fun representation would be Hotel Transylvania.
Oh my gosh.
Jesus.
I mean, it's a pretty good movie though.
Yeah.
You know, Chelsea, you had me surprised when I thought that your favorite representation was this classism, bloody feud manga, and then you just bring it right back to very sweet, wholesome cartoons. You almost had me.
Yep.
You almost had
I was
me.
just building you up and then just,
Drop it off. Just no punt the.
Yeah.
baby.
I'm sure all
No.
the fans of Chelsea out there were thrown off too. They're like, "What the fuck?" But no, she brought it all
Very
around,
true.
folks.
There we go. That's my little classic fun vampires.
All right,
One of
Ethan.
a really that's actually Hotel Transylvania. That's a good Sandler film, because like half the voice cast in that is just like
Yeah, it's
Sandler
like all
and
the
his
same.
buddies.
It's like all the same.
You know, it's like you know, it's like Happy Gilmore or Billy Madison, but just in cartoon form with all his friends. So
Yep.
it's just SNL vampires.
You got it.
I haven't seen the sequels, but the first one is charming, so I actually do enjoy it. So good job.
Well, thanks.
She worked hard on that.
I'm kind of with Chelsea a little bit, where I do like the more kind of Victorian classic vampire, but the reason I chose what my favorite is, which is the vampires depicted in the Anne Rice novels, and also some of those novels are into films. Not all the films are great. But the Vampire Chronicles is a huge sprawling series from Anne Rice. The first one is Interview with the Vampire, that may be more familiar to people. But I like the vampires depicted in that series because they do kind of ride the line of being classic, in the sense that they are Victorian. They are very like regal and emotional, and kind of they can be very sensual and seductive, but they also can be extremely, you know, deadly and violent, and that kind of rides that line that I like. That's kind of why I like vampires, is because they are very like charming, but then, you know, it's kind of just like a ruse for the most part. But what I like about Anne Rice's vampires is the common foils for vampires, like crucifixes and the stake through the heart and holy water. Like, none of that stuff phases them. None of that means anything to them. And in fact, even like some of the more ancient vampires in the lore are not even affected really by sunlight. That series kind of like, as vampires age and their immortality, they get stronger, and they can start developing kind of like, there's like a tiered system of like powers, and the older you get, you can start kind of achieving some of this different abilities. But they also they have like an aesthetic way of thinking where they, you know, they very like artistic. They are very like attracted to things that are beautiful or refined. That's kind of why in like Interview with the Vampire, when it's taken place during like the 19th and 18th century, they are very like aristocratic, and they try and like enter their way through like high society instead of like, you know, they don't just live in like some castle in Transylvania, or they're not crawling around like the slums killing hookers and shit. Like they are very, you know, they like to feel like a higher power. And I've always liked that about vampires over most other monsters, is because of that sense of like almost like nobility and like, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but they kind of do separate themselves from like zombies and ghosts and werewolves in that
for
sense,
sure.
where they're more just like strictly just like almost either villains or just tragic, where vampires can be they can be one or the other. Like there's vampires in Anne Rice's that are more empathetic, and they kind of keep some of their humanity. Like one of the main characters, Louis, he doesn't really like to kill humans for their blood, so he kills animals because he still has a little bit of his humanity left, where he's very empathetic to, you know, seeing that's just cold-blooded like murder. Like, I don't want to do it, I can't do that. Like he eventually
Sounds like
does
an Edward to me.
Yeah, but he also, you know, he doesn't fall for some dopey high schooler either. So.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Who just, you know, is essentially the representation of a mouth breather for 4 movies or books or whatever. So, but yeah, like main narrative aside from Anne Rice's novels, because they kind of go over the place. When it comes down to it, I just like the way that she kind of wrote her vampires, because she does kind of keep some of that classic touch to them, but does kind of take them in a new direction, where a lot of the like religious undertones of that being like a weakness to vampires, like all that's like void, like that doesn't do anything. And the idea of you know, giving them more abilities and powers, like they don't transform into bats and shit, but some of them can be like telepathic or pyrokinetic, or some of them can just fly without turning into a bat, you know, stuff like that. So I don't know, I'd always thought that was you know, by far the coolest representation of vampires I've come across. I'm sure there's plenty others, but yeah, that was mine.
It's a lot, yeah.
Very cool.
Well, let's move on to the opposite, the feudal opposite of vampires, and let's move on to werewolves. The black sheep of the monster universe. I feel like they're always underrepresented, and if they are represented, they're always the lesser. So,
and yeah,
Chelsea,
I can agree with that.
Yeah. So Chelsea, let's start with you on this one. What's your favorite incarnation of a werewolf?
I think this is honestly so hard. It was really hard to think about, because I feel like there are so few representations for werewolves in any form.
Yeah.
And
especially in a modern context.
Yes. I feel like the one that initially came to mind was Harry Potter, because there are werewolves in that, but I'm just
Professor Lupin!
Yes, oh, I love Lupin, but I'm just like, is that the best representation of werewolves we have? And I don't know. Another one came to mind was a graphic novel I had read a while back. And I don't really remember the specifics, like on the details about how the werewolves came to be in that. It's called Feeding Ground. This main story has nothing to do with werewolves, but they are just the depiction of like a normal man that you don't know, has no like signs that he's a werewolf, but then he is a werewolf in it. And I think I really just think it's hard. I can't pick a particular
Yeah. No,
thing.
yeah, I'm totally with you on that. I feel like the early years, the golden age of like Hollywood, they were making a Wolfman, in a werewolf film like every other year to show off, mostly for like showing off all the different prosthetics and different like special effects and stuff we can get away, and costuming we can get away with. And then I feel like it kind of just has been a dry spell, and there's very few werewolf depictions anymore. And if they are, they're usually the side character to vampires.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're always paired together, and the vampire is usually always the protagonist, not necessarily like the hero, but they're always like the main focus. You know? Like even there's there's a very popular show, What We Do in the Shadows, which is all about vampires, like a mockumentary, but there's werewolves in it, but they're just kind of like there for like comedic entanglements with the main characters every once in a while. There's not like there's just there isn't a What We Do in the Shadows or What We Do at Moonlight for werewolves. So so yeah, I'm with you. There's not a whole lot of, it's slim pickings out there for the werewolves, and I feel like someone needs to put a flag in the ground and start and boost the werewolf lore and just jumpstart it a little bit, take it in a different creative direction. So I feel like there's plenty of space to do that. Wade, what about you?
Well, for this one, I just went with Remus.
Yeah.
Just because, like Chelsea said, there just wasn't a lot to choose from. Like I tried to go online and like look at lists, and a lot of the stuff I found, I just didn't have any experience in. Like Teen Wolf, I've never seen Teen Wolf before. I can't speak to anything about that.
Yeah,
but
same.
Remus Lupin, for sure. Like I can talk about Remus Lupin, and like the troubles that he has and stuff like that. So I went. It's the easy pick, but I went with Remus.
Honestly, I was expecting it from one of you, so I'm glad we just got it out there.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
I kind of, I feel like I smidge cheated a little bit on this one.
You monster.
I feel like I'm sort of bending my own rules, but I made them, so fuck it, I can do whatever I want.
No.
My favorite is from the Underworld series. They're lichens, but in the lore, they are basically like like offshoots of an original werewolf, where they can kind of control their transformation and not just like solely just like animals, basically.
I actually didn't know there was a difference between the two.
Yeah, you got to dig in some fandom there.
I just thought it was just like the fancier name. I just thought.
Oh, you
that's all
thought
it
lichens
was.
and werewolves are the same.
Yeah.
See,
But if it's like a difference
is,
of control, though, I get that though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Werewolves don't have control of their transformation. That's kind of what makes them like a tragic creature. Lichens have control. But I always thought it was interesting in the Underworld series. Wade, I know you've seen the Underworld films. Chelsea, you should definitely check them out. They are surprisingly good for as like campy and ridiculous they can get. But I do like the lichens because that they were in the beginning they're kind of like slaves to the vampires, and then they kind of like with this one specific lichen kind of started this like rebellion and just kind of broke free from vampire a stranglehold on them, and it kind of just created this like hundreds, basically just like a feud ever since between the two. And I like the way that the lichens are depicted. because they're just like these big, brutish, very strong, very fast creatures. But I also like that they are very much sort of like have a familiar or like a duty to like their pack. You know, like they actually do care about lichens at large. Where I feel like the vampires in that series are very much just kind of like, it's almost like a Game of Thrones setup, like whoever's in charge rules and everyone else hates each other, is trying to backstab one another. Like the vampires in that series are, for the most part, pieces of shit to one another. But I really like that the lichens are very much like, stand together, we are one, we are, and also I do like the fact that they're, for the most part, at least in the original ones, I haven't seen the most recent Underworld film, but the early ones, they were all like practical effects and they just looked fucking cool. So like 9 feet tall, just like towering, massive like wolf creatures there. Wow. So yeah, that's kind of my my cheat is picking a lichen over a traditional werewolf, but whatever.
Change of concept, but I'd put him in the same box.
Yeah, we're not getting graded here, so.
Or are we?
Or are we? Yeah, send it.
Our listeners will let us know.
Yeah, listeners out there, if you guys have problems with that, you can send your comments. I'll take them. All right, so let's move on to Ghost. And Wade, why don't you start us off with Ghost?
Okay, here's my silly answer. I totally went with Danny Phantom.
Oh my gosh.
I love that show,
Lord.
man. It's a good show.
I only know Danny Phantom as like the name, but that was like the Nickelodeon era when I was already done with Nickelodeon.
Oh, that's too bad. You missed a good show.
Yeah,
I watched a little bit of it. I know what you're talking about.
Well, I mean, I don't have much to say. He's a boy who turns into a ghost, and he helps capture other ghosts. That's about it.
So it's like a Ghostbuster that is a ghost?
Kind of. Like, he opens the realm to, like, the ghost realm on accident, and, like, he's standing in, like, the middle of the portal when it happens. So he's able to, like, shift between being, like, a human and a ghost. He has, like, a ghost form. And in doing so, he released a bunch of ghosts out into the real world. So he flies around as, like a superhero, but not kind of. Like, gathering up the ghosts that he let out.
Okay.
Yeah. It's made by the people who did Fairly Odd Parents. So, like, if you've seen that, then...
Yeah, that does explain a lot.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Makes sense.
You're welcome. Mic drop.
All right, cool. Chelsea, what about you?
Well, I mean that's fun, but I kind of like my ghost just being actual ghost, just dead. And
Just dead.
Just dead.
just dead.
I like my ghost being dead, not
Dead.
fun.
Not fun.
Yeah. This was another one I kind of struggled with just because ghosts really aren't my thing. But I realized, like, thinking about it more, I have seen a good amount of things that do have ghosts in it. So I'd say things like The Sixth Sense would be interesting, or The Shining and Harry Potter.
Now, all right, hold on. Do you like those because you like those movies, or do you because you like the ghosts in them? Like, The Sixth Sense is a good film, but do you like The Sixth Sense because of the ghosts, or do you just like it because it's just a good film?
I mean, I'd say both. I mean, they're ghosts that...
They're dead. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're dead. I guess, like, technically they're different from Harry Potter because in Harry Potter, those ghosts actually interact with people and
Those
actually
ghosts
have, like, full-on conversations and everything.
Yeah. Harry Potter ghosts can interact with anyone, not just creepy kids that can talk back.
Yep.
So
I don't know. I honestly, this is another one. I really don't have a preference. I mean, they're fine. It's just they're ghosts. They have ghostly qualities. They're dead.
I'm gonna go out on a
That's
limb and
fine.
say you don't believe in ghosts, right?
That's correct. I don't believe in ghosts.
Okay, that explains it. That explains it.
Oh, so that means do you believe in ghosts, Ethan?
I believe in vampires, werewolves. I believe in all of it.
But not ghosts.
Oh man, okay.
Not
So
gonna.
tell me what. Oh, I was
too
like,
far.
tell me which ghost you believe in.
Um, I so I'm again I am like you, Chelsea. I like my ghosts dead, not superheroes.
Jeez. Okay. Gosh.
But my favorite that I can think of, I actually really like ghosts. I don't necessarily believe in ghosts, but I do like ghosts because I find them sort of from a monster standpoint, they have a very kind of clean slate on how you can interpret them and all the different avenues and routes you can take with ghosts. So I kind of find that fascinating because you never really know what you're going to get with how people are going to handle a quote unquote ghost story.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorites is another film, but it's The Others. And the reason I like it so much is because the ghosts don't know that they're ghosts. And I find that beautiful and also tragic.
Oh,
in
who's
the
that?
same
Who's in
light.
that movie? Who's the lady?
That is Nicole Kidman.
Oh yes, that's a good movie.
Ah.
I watched that when I was a little kid. It blew my mind. I was like, what?
Not only is that just like an interesting film twist, because every film needs a twist in a horror genre apparently. I just like the idea that these people are carrying out their day-to-day lives and existing and not knowing that they don't really exist. And that kind of taps into like the same reason why I like certain philosophy about existence and the sort of like the beauty of like the ignorance of not really knowing what reality is, if we can perceive it or not. Like, or we could be fucking ghosts right now and not even realize it. I just find that fascinating. But also, it is tragic because when they actually do find out that they're ghosts, and that's kind of a very like sad revelation for them. But anything that kind of plays with the perception of reality and how these characters, don't really, realize that the reality is something other than what they think it is. I like that stuff. Honorable mention for Ghost is this indie film from David Lowery, who recently did The Green Knight. He also directed a film called A Ghost Story, and it's also sort of tragic. I think that's kind of what I like most about the ghosts, is they can be very skew more onto the tragic and sympathetic side, where like the whole film is it's this couple, and the husband passes away, but he doesn't cross over, so to speak, and he just becomes a ghost. And he's basically stuck into the confines of their house where he passed away. And he's just stuck there, and he just kind of witnesses the rest of her life. He witnesses past that, when a new family moves into the house. He witnesses the destruction of the house. He witnesses like urban development over where his house used to be. Like, he's just sitting there watching, time go by, decades, all this stuff. And it just can't really, it's voyeuristic. He's just watching time flash by. And I find that very like haunting, but also and very tragic, but also kind of an interesting way of taking the ghost narrative and not making it like, most people take ghosts and they just try and make them like scary, or poltergeists and shit, where they're like moving chairs around and flying around and trying to scare people, and I think this is the more interesting way to take ghosts, is kind of playing with reality and perception and stuff like that. I really like that. So, but yes, very Chelsea, they are both dead. So,
yeah.
So they hit
they
hit your criteria.
I mean, to be fair, I could make a reason for when Danny turns into a ghost, he actually dies and comes back to life over and over again. I mean, we can't disprove it, so.
That's true. We can't disprove it. We can't disprove a lot of things.
Somebody get Butch Hartman on the phone.
I wasn't hating on you, Wade.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just, that's not what I was thinking of immediately when I was thinking of ghosts. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was scrolling through and she's like, Danny Phantom, he's not dead. He doesn't count.
Check him off the
totally.
list. He doesn't get to
Check
go.
him off the list. Not a ghost.
I see how it is.
All right, so let's move into arguably the more popular one in the modern context, at least. Zombies. Everyone's favorite. Everyone loves zombies.
Well,
Zombies,
some people like zombies.
Yeah, Wade. Since...
I love zombies.
You'll have to teach
They're
me how to like them because I don't.
Teach me
Okay.
your ways. Chelsea, you go
Yeah.
first because you're very enthusiastic about zombies.
Oh my gosh, I am obsessed with zombies. I love them. It's the ones that I would probably be like, this could legit happen in the world. I am here for zombies, and I will be ready for the zombie apocalypse.
Are you a doomsday prepper? Is that what you're telling me? Do you
Not
have like
quite,
a,
but I mean,
do you have like a storage shed that you guys like rent out that's just filled with like canned food and ammunition?
I'll never tell. But we are prepared where we
Yeah,
live
I need-
now. We
I
have,
need
you
the
know,
address.
basic essentials. No,
That's
never.
That's like
This is
rule
our
number one.
stuff.
You never give up the existence of the panic room.
Yeah.
You can't let people
So
know.
yeah. I mean, I was prepared for this current pandemic when it started. I took it seriously. I'm like, you never know. Like, I believe that zombies could happen, so I'm gonna be prepared for any type of sickness, pandemic, anything that comes my way. So I will
man.
survive. That's what I'm going with.
I'm the opposite of prepared for zombies because I don't want to live in a zombie future. That sounds fucking awful.
Take
I want
me
to.
out.
I want to be patient X.
I was
I'll
about to say
start-
that.
Oh.
Let me be the cause of the apocalypse.
Oh gosh. No, don't. No.
I could not imagine living through living that lifestyle sounds awful.
I won't. Well, if that happens, I probably won't have to teach anymore. So at least there's that.
I mean, I
You'll
guess.
have to do a different type of teaching.
Yeah, band teachers won't be high on
Survival.
the list. At least to the living people, maybe to the zombies, but not to the living people.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe you have like a
That's
zombie
possible.
band, like a zombie marching band.
Ooh. I gotta become a zombie quick. I gotta make sure I'm there to get all the good recruits.
Yeah, you can be like the zombie like bugle player for when the horde arrives.
Declaring our entrance upon the battlefield.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh no.
Okay, maybe I can do this after all.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right, we've convinced
Well, maybe.
him.
Oh, I was like, well, maybe in your version of zombies, I'm like, those are not my version of zombies where
Yeah,
they
let's-
can
Let's get
play instruments and, you know, have a whole band and everything. No. My my favorite version of zombies are the ones that, you know, there was some like mutated disease and everything. You know, there was definitely that patient zero and it killed them and it turned them into a zombie, rotted flesh, everything, wanting, you know, to eat flesh, other humans, biting them and being like infecting that person.
Gross.
And that's how it spreads. Yep. Yeah, very nasty, very icky.
I mean,
And
we're just trying to have a good time
they're-
here.
Yeah, no. They're attracted to sound, so they will go after the band, but they won't become the band. Except I guess then they all will be reanimated.
Yeah, they're gonna
but
come-
They're not gonna
they're-
be playing instruments.
Yeah,
That's
they're
not
gonna
my
become the
version.
band.
Not if I have anything
Oh,
to say about
gosh.
it.
Yeah.
So do you have a specific fiction of zombie, or do you just like literally anything? If it's zombie, pumping into my veins.
Yeah, do you like?
I mean, pretty much that's how it is, but I do like different versions even if they don't fit with my standards because one thing I do like about my zombies, I like them slow. I think there's something about that because you know, you let your guard down. You're like, "Oh, zombies are slow. Oh, you know, I don't really have to worry about them that much, you know."
boom.
But that's when they get you. You let your guard down when some loud noise happens and there's a whole horde surrounding you. That's what you get. Don't ever
So-
let your guard down. So I would say the closest version, for the most part, not exactly about how the infection spread, but I would say most of the characteristics I like are from The Walking Dead.
Okay. Yeah, I would say that they are very classic in their interpretation of the zombie. I've only seen one season of the show, and so that was enough to be like, yep, this is a zombie thing. So That's basically all I needed. Yeah. I have a question though. I have a question since I'm just now finding out about your love affair with zombies.
Oh no. Should I put a disclaimer first that I have not seen every single zombie thing ever made, but I will eventually.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
That's fine. I don't need you to.
Okay.
I have been trying, and I think I know. I think you know where I'm going with this. I have been trying to get you to play Resident Evil for years, maybe months, years. I don't know. Time doesn't really make sense. It's been months. Time doesn't make sense to me anymore, so I'm just gonna say a long time. So,
okay.
And you have been so, laissez-faire about it.
Fancy.
For someone who loves zombies, that you are completely just bypassing the quintessential zombie series. Explain.
Right now.
Explain? Okay, well, I think it's been mentioned before when we were talking about other things that I don't like video games that freak me out. And I'm not really into that. Like, it was a struggle for.
If anything, you should run towards them.
But that doesn't. No, but playing video games is a whole nother level of things. But honestly, I thought I told you I did get it from my library. Check out things from your library. This is not sponsored.
Should we get a sponsorship from your library at this point? I mean, how many library cards have you pawned off to people now? What's your library? We need to get a sponsorship from them. I'm sure they have money. It's all taxpayer money, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll just find. I mean, any library. I'm just gonna encourage everybody, go to your local library for real. We're gonna go to that again. But I did have the Resident Evil. Was the second one?
Yeah, the remake.
Yes. Yeah, 2. Yes, I did play a little bit of that.
It's got everything you like about it. They're slow. They catch you off guard.
Terrifying.
Yeah, I don't like that when I'm playing.
They swarm you and you don't know it. You have almost no ammo. It's the perfect zombies. It's everything.
It's horrifying when you're playing it. I'm like, no. But yeah, maybe that shows that maybe I won't last that long in real life. But I have more positive hopes for reality surviving a little bit longer than I do in games like that. No, it is on my list to play eventually and to check it out from the library and continue it. I just wasn't able to renew it when I played it, so I didn't get very far into it. So,
well, not to go off on a Resident Evil tangent here, but I recently started playing Resident Evil 7 Biohazard.
Oh yes.
Which, as far as I'm in now, doesn't really seem very zombie forward. It's more about me just running away from a seemingly cannibalistic hillbilly family, which is fucking terrifying.
Yeah, the last few don't really do the zombie thing, I don't think.
Yeah, I've already had my hand chopped off with a chainsaw. I've already had a knife blade shoved in my mouth. This is all first person, by the way. If you guys if the listeners aren't familiar with this game,
Lovely.
It's horrifying, and you don't have weapons. You're just running around aimlessly in the bayou.
In the bayou.
I would never be there to begin with. No.
So
thank you.
I would not recommend you play this Resident Evil game, but the OG ones, are very zombie. Zombie-rific. So
zombie-rific.
Yes.
Zombie-rific.
That's our new word. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely give that I think of it as like a training for when the apocalypse happens. It's like a training simulator.
Training simulator. Well, I think I need to exercise more for that. Need to run away from them.
Yeah.
In real life, yeah.
All right, Wade, since you're the counter to this, since you don't really like zombies, do you have a favorite, representation of them?
I did put something in that spot, yes. And that would be the zombies from the Thriller music video.
Oh, man. I really thought you were going to throw out a really fun, cheesy movie, but...
Not even the cheesy movies, no.
Not even Warm Bodies.
Oh god, that's the cheesiest of cheese.
Oh,
that was like post post Twilight,
That's
like where it wasn't cool anymore. So
yeah, that would
I
Yeah, that
I,
was-
I
It's
did
not
I did
always
see
cool.
it, and it wasn't like a horrible movie. I was like, oh okay, like I didn't waste my
it's
money. It
definitely
was fine.
that film was definitely swimming in the Twilight wake. You know,
But yeah,
it's
yeah.
like oh,
I was just like, okay.
It's
I mean, like Nicholas Holt as a
sweet, but
zombie,
fine.
yes, that was fine. Like, you know, he played his role very well. He played his little mindless role very well.
I guess
the fact. Yeah.
neither one of you are Shaun of the Dead fans. That's like a
I've
comedy.
seen those. Yeah, I've seen all those movies.
watched it.
And I've had plenty of laughs at them.
They're
But they're
they're
still very
slow.
realistic zombies, I think. So
Yeah, I mean it's not
Nah.
like a total goofball
yeah.
zombie thing. Like they're not like trying to build bonds with humans or whatnot. So not like warm body nonsense.
What is that? What's the Woody Harrelson zombie movie?
Zombieland.
Zombieland. Like, yeah, like that's a fun movie. Like, I'll watch that, but I don't care
Yeah.
for the zombies in the movie. So
I see. Yes.
I can't attach myself to zombies very well. And maybe it's because they're the most realistic of all the things, and I shy away from like realism. Because when you think about that, that's terrifying, and I don't want anything to do with that. But also,
I
like,
also feel like
zombies can't be. They're not really characters, you know.
Yeah, that's
They're
what I was
just
gonna
kind of
say.
like a setting of the story that's being told, kind of deal. So they're just. I just have a hard time like connecting to them. That's all.
Yeah, that was. I feel like that one was going to be probably, in terms of like a lot of the stuff we've talked about earlier is like how these are characterized, and zombies don't really have since they don't really have protagonists or characters. They're kind of just a catalyst for the human characters to do their survive or not. You basically just have to pick which kind of zombie you like. Do you like fast ones? Do you like dumb ones? That's the traits. You know what I mean? Like there's not a whole lot of variety, I guess, in zombie fiction. It's mostly just like, oh, I really like this film because, like Zombieland, I really like that movie because Woody Harrelson and them are funny. I don't really remember anything about the zombies. It's just besides them just being zombies and Bill Murray pretending to be one. So, you know what I mean? It's not like I like that movie because of the zombies in it, if that makes sense. Same with
that's
Shaun of the
very
Dead. Like
true.
Shaun of the Dead's a really funny movie, but I don't like it because of the zombies. I like it because of Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, and their banter is hilarious. So I think it's really hard to find zombie lore fiction to like gravitate to because of the zombies. If that makes sense. Like Chelsea, you just like them.
That's true.
You like the classic, slow, brain-eating, virus dealing zombies or whatever.
Yeah.
Which, and that's pretty much culminates, I would say, 3/4 of zombie fiction. So you pretty much can enjoy most of everything.
Exactly. That does remind me, though, when you were talking, I mean, because it's very true for almost all zombie-related things. They're just, like, there. It's more about the characters who are trying to survive the zombie
Yeah.
apocalypse.
Yeah.
The book series, I think you started reading a couple of them, because there are a couple zombies that are, like, sentient, and they actually talk and stuff, and they're, like, the actual, like, antagonist would be in that
X.
book series, X Heroes.
Yeah. That is, yeah.
Yeah.
I've even told you when we first started reading that, that would make a great, like, TV series.
Yes.
Because for those of you who don't know, the whole kind of like premise of the book is it's post-apocalyptic future from a zombie outbreak, but there's also superheroes in the world, and the superheroes kind of gathered up the last bastion of humanity and built it. Isn't it in California? It's like LA, right? They kind of build
Yeah,
like
it's like on a like movie set.
yeah, they basically like
Yeah.
let's say they take over like Warner Brothers lot, and they kind of just build a fortress around it, and they just live there with humanity, and there's half dozen superheroes that are protecting humanity from this zombie horde. And yeah, one of the main antagonists, I think his name's Legion,
Yes.
right? He's like a zombie, but it's like a hive where he can like communicate and control the actions and of the zombies and like where to direct them and what they need to do and stuff like that. It's actually really fun book series. But like I said, I think it would be a really cool show because it kind of takes two things that everybody fucking Jones is about is like superheroes and zombies, and let's just mesh that together. You know, it's a win-win for everyone. You know, so it may have passed its time now because we are like saturated with that kind of stuff, but a few years ago that would have been pretty cool.
I'll keep zombie lore alive. I'll
Keep zombie lore alive.
turn out something. Yeah, you know, watch out. Might write a script about it soon. Who knows?
There you go. Well, that actually comes to mind, mine, which is a new representation of zombies, and that's actually the recent Zack Snyder film Army of the Dead. And if you haven't seen it,
Not watched that yet.
if you haven't seen it, it's a fine enough movie. I don't think it's great, but it's definitely not bad. It's fun. But what I thought was most interesting about it is how he handled the zombies, where he actually made kind of like what we were talking about with the X Heroes series. He gave the zombies a antagonist, like a leader. And the zombies actually there's like a hierarchy system to them. So like the very first zombie, like Patient X or whatever, he still has like some amount of like intelligence to him. And any zombie or any person that he bites or whatever becomes what's called an alpha zombie, which also retains a amount of like intelligence to him. And then anything that the alphas bite just become shamblers, just the common whatever grunts of the zombie horde. But I kind of like the way that they are handled because since there is this hierarchy, it's almost militarized, where you have like this leader zombie who's like sending out alphas to like scout and do hunting raiding parties, and the leader actually in like the finale of the film, like he rides around on a fucking like zombie horse, which is just awesome. And he also wears like a helmet / crown that's made out of metal, so people can't shoot him in the head and kill him, because that's like the way you kill a zombie. So he has like a deterrent for that, and he carries like, I want to say it's like a giant hammer or giant axe. I can't really remember, but imagine like orcs or something, or urukai from like Lord of the Rings mixed with zombies, and that's kind of what you get here, and it's awesome. Because I don't really give a shit about zombies at all. I find them very boring, because not only from the saturation of them all, and they're all basically, it's like they're either slow or they're either fast, and that was kind of like the only iterations you got from them, like the origins or whatever. But I actually like what Snyder did with creating like this, like it's like a zombie military. I think that's fucking awesome. I thought that was like a really cool way to kind of pump some life into the zombie lore and give them something new about it.
Nice.
Honorable mention.
That does actually happen in X Heroes too. Little spoilers later on in the series. They do actually like put on like military, like bulletproof vests and everything.
Yeah, see,
when he controls them.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
That would be wild. Yeah.
Maybe Snyder read that series. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna make this shit.
There we go. That's our little tease for if they ever make like a TV show of that series. There we go.
That would be cool. I guess honorable mention is maybe what you guys thought I was gonna pick, but Resident Evil. I love the Resident Evil series. I love the zombies in it. I love that they can take on so many different forms from so many different viruses, where there's just like your standard zombie shambler, but then they get like these crazy amalgamations of body parts and size, and they're just like more like monsters. Like and the series goes on, they get crazier and crazier. So I just think that's interesting to kind of have like these different depictions of zombies throughout the series, besides just hordes of humanoids walking around mindlessly or whatever. So that's kind of how I judge my zombie lore. Is I like it to be a little kind of
Crazy.
crazy and diverse and a little left of center, I guess. So
Okay.
Fair enough.
so let's move on to worst, or our least favorite, not necessarily worst. Let's say least favorite. So we'll start with vampires again. And Wade, what's your least favorite vampire? Is it Twilight? Is it the same?
I mean, it could be, yeah. I actually couldn't think of a kind of vampire that I didn't like. Like, there's stuff that I haven't seen. Like, I've never seen True Blood or Vampire Diaries, so I can't judge stuff like that. But what I have, like, ingested as far as vampire material goes, I've never really disliked anything. At least nothing came to mind. So I was just like, well, I guess I'm a vampire person. Huh. Learned something about myself today.
Well, if you want to dislike vampire, you can watch True Blood. It's pretty terrible.
Okay.
In terms of taking like imagine like Twilight, but just like cranked up a notch in the worst way possible. So that's
Alrighty.
That's basically all True Blood
Well,
is Twilight, but after dark, and with really bad Southern accents. So.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I had lots of like runner-ups for like vampires I really liked, and it took me a while to really settle on one.
Well, give me okay. We'll just this is our show. We can do whatever we want. Give me a runner up. Give me a runner up for your best.
Another one I really liked. I liked the vampires in American Horror Story season 5.
Oh shit! There's vampires.
I
never
Hotel.
never
Yeah,
got that
Hotel.
far.
It's Lady Gaga. That's who she
Oh,
plays.
right.
She plays like
That's right.
she plays like the vampire.
She
And
would be.
she's pretty like she's a badass bitch in that season.
She seems like she could be a vampire in real life.
and
Like she just kind of has that persona of just like what I would think of like a modern day vampire. You know?
And Jared Leto.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
feel
We
like.
didn't know
That's
that.
fair.
We didn't know that Morbius was actually a biopic.
Right.
So.
Who could have told?
Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, Chelsea. What about you? You have a least favorite vampire?
I'm not gonna spend time bashing Twilight, so I'll move on to one that's Hemlock Grove, the TV series.
Oh,
I think there were
okay.
3
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
seasons.
That was on Netflix, right?
And
Or was it
yes,
on-
Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I watched it all on Netflix. Was also had problems with the show in general. I don't know why I watched all 3 seasons, but I did. And technically, those vampires, I think they were called like Upir, technically. So that's
Au
like kind
pairs?
of like a au pair. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's something. It's
Totally the same thing.
it's like a Ukrainian type of vampire. It's like a subset, but those vampires, like, he would just like open his jaw like really, really wide and just like bite down on people every once in a while, and it would just be like a bloody mess. They just love to have just gore everywhere, and I'm like, what is this? Is this really a vampire? What is this family? They're very weird. That's not a vampire for me.
I'm definitely with you on that. I don't really like depiction of vampires where they make a mess of their kills. Like, if it's just like, oh, I'm a vampire and I'm going to bite your neck, but I'm going to, like, rip your head off and there's going to be blood spraying everywhere.
That's
like,
like
to me,
defeats
that's
the
just
purpose.
like, yeah, it defeats, it's a waste. You're wasting all, that's just like if I went to, I ordered a pizza and I open the box and I just, like, take a bite, but I throw half the pizza over the fucking house. Like, doesn't make any damn sense. Like, I like the vampires that are very, like, almost, like, very careful and methodical with how they, like, bite and drain their blood to the point
like
where
they can't hide if they're leaving a huge old mess everywhere and walking out of the room
exactly.
covered in blood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's kind of a bringing it back to why I really liked Anne Rice vampires is the way that they, like, drain the blood from victims. The victims are such in a state of, like, it's like a high almost. They don't even really realize that they're being drained. they have like it's like they're so stimulated, and it's almost like very sensual and kind of sexual, and like so it's kind of like it's like a very clean kill. It's never like this big bloody fucking mess that a lot of vampire stuff does. I'm with you. I don't like the gore of vampires. That's not what I'm for.
So much more interesting things about them.
Right.
Yeah. That's kind of with mine. Have you guys ever seen The Strain? I think it's actually based off a book series or a book or something.
Is that about vampires?
Yeah.
I had no idea. I knew that was a thing, but I didn't know. Man, I didn't know that.
They're not called au pairs like in Hemlock Grove. But
Whatever they are, I don't know.
But they're called like Strigali, Stromboli, something like that. Something pasta related.
Like it sounds like Pinocchio now. Goodness.
Yeah. But they're for the same reason. Like they are very just like they're almost like just like pure like animals. Like they're almost like mindless, and they like the way they like kill is like they have like these really like weird long tongues that shoot out, and they're very kind of like zombies because there is like head vampires, and then like these lesser vampires that are very just like animalistic. And I don't like that. I don't like it when they turn vampires and make them very primal and destructive, and like the conceit is like they're all like this, the strain. It's kind of like this. It's like a virus, and people are just being turned into these fucking creatures that are, and it's I don't know. It's not my vampire fiction that I like. The show's not bad if you just kind of take away the aspect of like this is like vampire stuff. If you just kind of look at it from a different lens, I guess.
Needs more stuff.
I'm kind of with. Yeah, it needs more love triangles. That's what make. No. So also same with I Am Legend. They're technically vampires as well, but for the same reason, like they're almost like it's like a vampire zombie kind of hybrid, and I don't know. I don't really like. Good movie, it's a good movie, but I just don't like I don't like that kind of representation of vampire. Like,
it's fair.
So, all right, what about werewolf? Who's got a good one?
I have one you're not gonna like.
Oh no.
Is it Underworld?
It is Underworld. They're like. They don't do anything in the movie. Like, they're the enemy we have to beat. And look how stupid they are. And they just die all the time. And, like, I don't know. They don't do anything for me.
See, I like it in Rise of the Lycans, the prequel or whatever, where you have Lucian.
Yeah,
I think Lucian's just part.
Even still,
I think Lucian's just part.
I don't know, just watching that whole movie, I was just like, Like, I can't get behind your, like... I wasn't sympathetic at all, because I was just like... I didn't care for you all in the first two movies. Like, you didn't make any kind of a point against the vampires. And so, like, I don't care now. I don't know. It's purely me. It's just me. I just couldn't get past it.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely... You're meant to see them as the enemy, because the main character of this series is a vampire.
Sure.
And she's just been led to believe that Lycans are the enemy until she like starts. I guess it is kind of like Twilight. There's a little bit of a love story in Underworld.
So I thought you were trying to convince me to watch these movies.
Yeah,
well,
maybe I should stop talking.
She's not. Well, she doesn't fall in love with a werewolf. She falls in love with a guy who ends up becoming a werewolf. Like they're after him, and like the love aspect of those movies, it's fine with. It's just like every time you get to see the werewolves like talking to each other, they're just like, we have bigger gun to fight vampire with. We're gonna outsmart them, and then no, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, they're set up kind of like a like a mob mentality. Like they're the mafia.
Yeah,
You know, they
they're
all just
just
show up in these hidden meetings. They're all carrying like these, they're all dressed in like trench coats and like fur coats and stuff, and they're all like fucking vampires.
look at us, we're werewolves because yeah, and I'm just like not that the vampires are better because they just go around in all the movies being bitches to each other.
Yeah, I think
Unless
that's
you're
why
Celine,
I like.
but it's like
That's kind of why I like the Lycans. Is they're portrayed, at least especially in like the first two films, to be kind of like, just like the thugs of the movies.
it's like we need an enemy. We'll put the werewolves in. It's fine.
Yeah. But they're not. It's almost. I guess the more you get into it, the more you realize that they just kind of want to be left alone, or they want the vampires to be like eradicated so they can be left alone.
Mm-hmm.
And there's never really any like power struggles within the werewolf or Lycan community. They're very much just like, we're the underdogs, maybe literally.
I mean, it's they have the wolf thing. There's an alpha, and that's it.
Yeah.
They don't have to worry about those things like vampires stabbing each other in the back and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But yeah, that's me. That's me.
Yeah. Well, for
Chelsea,
me, yeah.
I was gonna say, Chelsea, you need to watch the series so you can break the stalemate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes. I'll let you guys know.
It's good
but
action.
I think
Love the movies.
so. Apparently, I have a thing against Hemlock Grove because I'm gonna go back to Hemlock Grove and the and the werewolves and that, just because that's just an example of the type of werewolves I don't like. I have a problem with in certain like things where werewolves are portrayed as like one particular group or organization of people that like those are the like, and then they're like outcast because of that, like a certain group, and they're like, ew, like all of them are werewolves, let's just hate on them. Because in Hemlock Grove it's like they're like gypsies, and like they're like, ooh, gypsies are bad because they're all werewolves, and it's a very weird thing.
Well, that's
and then
just
I
racist.
forgot, I just looked it up.
No shit. Maybe you shouldn't watch Underworld.
I mean, they do it to each other in that case. So,
But I mean, like werewolves, like being outcast in general or having that stigma because they are werewolves, like that's fine to me, just not just characterizing one group of people. I just have problems with that. And then one thing about how to become a werewolf in the Hemlock Grove show, I forgot about this because it totally happens to one of the characters. You like besides being bitten by a werewolf and stuff like that, consuming water taken from the footprint of a werewolf during a full moon.
From a footprint?
Yep, during a full moon, you drink water from. It was freaking weird.
Why are you licking mud water off the ground? I guess, but
what if it was a
whatever.
drought?
Well, then you'll have to try to get bitten by a werewolf. Then I guess
So we know the the weaknesses is just a desert.
Yeah, it's weird stuff, but that's my one negative thing that comes to mind about werewolf portrayals.
Well, mine is Twilight.
That's fair.
Mostly because out of like they are sort of Lycan-esque because they can transform on command.
Mm-hmm.
But they are like the least intimidating like form of a werewolf or Lycan I've ever seen.
Well,
they're basically just like
Big.
Like they're like dire wolves
in
like Game of Thrones, or they're just like bigger wolves. I'm just like, all right, yeah, cool. You transformed into a dog.
I was talking about this earlier when we were talking about like the werewolves in Twilight. I was like, the werewolves themselves, like when they transform, like they're useless. Like they're just dogs. They don't do nothing.
Yeah.
But the people, as like in their human forms, like they have a lot of really cool abilities and like extra stuff that they can do. And I like that. That's really cool. But then like they turn into wolves, and it's like, oh, they're just gonna get thrown around. Okay, that's fine.
I feel like it's just kind of like it happens, and I would just be like, what? Like at best, whelmed. I guess.
You're whelmed. I feel so whelmed.
You know what I mean? Be like, oh, okay, well, that happened.
That's a thing.
Like if I was Bella and Jacob was trying to like strut his stuff and he transformed into a large dog, I'll be like, okay, I made the right choice. Like, I got this cool vampire guy. Like,
well,
Oh boy.
so.
comment.
So yeah, that's save that for our
Twilight
month,
episode.
our
Twilight episode.
month.
Oh my god.
Yes.
We're gonna do a whole month of Twilight on its anniversary. So.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I like my werewolves to be intimidating, or my lichens at least to be intimidating, and Twilight werewolves are not. They're just very, bleh, you know.
Yep,
very
indeed.
nothing to me.
Indeed.
So, all right. So how about ghosts? Chelsea, you hate ghosts, so you should have a whole smorgasbord of ghost.
I don't think I really said I hated ghosts. I just am not into them. I just don't like them that much. But I mean, I think the example I have is kind of more of because I don't like the show. I mean, and I think the portrayal, at least quite a few episodes I watched, it was very bland. Would be it was a show that came out a couple of years now, probably almost 10 years ago, Being Human. It was on Sci-Fi. It was basically a remake of the BBC series of the same name. And it was basically about 3 roommates, a ghost girl, and 2 guys. One was a vampire, one was a werewolf.
Oh, and they get into all sorts of hijinks.
Yeah, drama, but, it's, all about that drama. Romance, pining, just, eh.
Ugh.
And I felt like she was always complaining, just being like, I can't do anything. At least that's how I remember her portrayal. I'm like, dude, you're a ghost. I'm not sure what's going on here. But that was me. Ghost didn't do much. But was dead.
I can only imagine that when they pitched that idea, they're like, oh, okay, hear me out. You're going to have a vampire, a werewolf, and a ghost, and they're going to be roommates. Imagine all the zany antics that they're going to get into.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a comedy.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Well,
that just sounds
maybe.
terrible.
I know it went a couple seasons. I think some people probably liked it, but sorry, not for me.
There's always somebody who likes everything or something. So there's like someone's listening to this podcast right now. So there's somebody for everything.
Very true.
Wade, what about you?
I couldn't really think of a ghost like a type of ghost or something that I didn't like. So I just went with a ghost movie that I didn't like, and that would be Ghost Dad.
Ghost Dad?
Like the Bill Cosby movie.
Never heard.
Oh, that's all you got to say.
Yeah, like I
Okay.
just
End of story.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was a very
Oh no! Don't make a joke. Don't make a joke.
I'm sure it was a very family appropriate film. Moving on.
Yes, I'm like, and Ethan.
All right, so I don't really have a ghost that I dislike for its portrayal that of something that I've actually like seen. And this movie that I'm talking about is a movie that I actually really like, and I watch it almost every year. But I'm throwing it into this because it kind of just breaks all kind of environmental logic that they've set up, and that's Casper. Because I love Casper as a film, but if your ghosts are like, they can kind of go anywhere and do everything, but then you can get stuck in a vacuum cleaner.
I always wondered about that myself.
You can also go through this human car wash or whatever, and then turn back into a human. Like all the family friendly logic stuff of the film kind of ruins it for as in terms of like why I like ghosts. So yeah, I guess I'd have to say that. But like I said, I really do like that film. I think it's fun and charming, but their ghost logic that they set up, they kind of break themselves. So whatever. But I mean, whatever. Ghost logic. That's a fucking dumb phrase anyway. So what are we talking about here? So what are we even doing here? So let's move on. Let's move on to zombies. I guess Chelsea doesn't have any. She loves all zombies. So
Hey, I mean, we're talking about portrayals, so I do have issues with some.
oh yeah, sorry. The Resident Evil games.
No. I would say, like, Warm Bodies. I really like that movie. I think it's a fun, good movie and everything. But the portrayal of zombies, that like the power of love and everything, true love can magically turn zombies back into human.
That sounds
That's
like a
where,
Kingdom Hearts game.
Hey now, let's
Or
not
wait,
bring in
that's
Kingdom
or
Hearts
wait,
into this.
is that the power of friendship and not love?
It's, I mean, love and friendship, it's intertwined. Let's be real here.
Do they have a key to the zombie's heart? All right, I'm done.
Okay. Anyway. But yeah, I mean, that's what I think. I'm just that portrayal, is cheesy. But like I said, I do love the movie. I think it's enjoyable. But as for what I really like about zombie portrayals, doesn't work for me on how zombies can be cured. So.
Well, we already know Wade's. It's basically anything that's zombie. So
Yeah, I literally wrote down everything. So.
Perfect.
Okay.
Mine is kind of, you touched on this a little bit earlier, Chelsea, in terms of why you like slow, shambling, classic zombies. The reason I dislike these zombies is because they are the ones that are just like, they're the speed zombies, the ones that run really fast and have like super strength or all this other shit. And that's the film version of World War Z.
Yeah.
Because in the book, they are not these super high octane fast.
Oh my god, those
sprinters
things
or
were
whatever.
terrifying.
They were ridiculous.
Like
Yeah,
they
they
should
were
not be moving that
very
fast. Oh my god.
Overly, like, they were trying to do it to make it like overly like cinematic, and
Yes.
but it was very fucking dumb. There's like a scene in that film where they're like all climbing on top of each other to climb over this wall in like Jerusalem or whatever, and then they're like jumping and like taking down an airplane or whatever, like like it's just like stupid shit like that. Also the fact that they are like blind to any human that has any sort of like ailment or whatever. It's like, oh, if you're sick, the zombies will just walk right by you. Like there's that scene where like that person just has like a bad leg or like a and like the zombies ignore him because he's not like prime human or whatever.
That was creative. Yeah.
It's creative, but it's also
It's fine,
it's
everybody.
kinda like,
Just break your leg.
yeah, it kind of defeats the purpose of like zombies because they're supposed to just be like this merciless horde of like indifference, and the idea that like if you have like the flu, like they'll just like ignore you. So see, it's kind of dumb. I'm not really for that with my zombies. So yeah, the film version, World War Z, very over the top Hollywood zombies, not for me.
I enjoy that one, but I understand. Yeah. Not those zombies. I'm not into that too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Brad Pitt, so I'll watch that film. So
That's fair. It's all good.
all right, well, that does it for all the monsters. Like I said, I know that there's other zombies out there, or monsters and demons and witches and shit. We could go on and on and on talking about monsters. So we did these four, and we did it with a dash of mirth, and that's really all you can expect. So yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and close it out there. If you guys have stuck around this long for 20 episodes, thank you. You are the true heroes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
If you're brand new to this and 20th episode is your first episode, there's really no reason to go backwards. Just hang in there. We'll keep putting out new content. So don't go back in life. That's my rule.
Hey, but don't hate on what we've done in the past.
check out check out the themes.
Yeah.
If something looks good to you, go look at it.
Yes.
Check it out.
And if you have any any comments or questions or whatever, you can send them to our email at dmasteredpodcast@gmail.com. And if you have any good ones or anything you guys want us to talk about on the show, we will do that. And check out all our social presence on like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at PodDemastered. I know Chelsea's been doing some pretty awesome stuff on Instagram, with especially with October being the spooky theme. So if you want to check out that content.
And on Twitter.
And on Twitter.
We have cool stuff going there too. Yes.
Yeah, there's usually polls that you guys can vote on, stuff like that. Little like nuggets, tidbits of info or whatnot.
Cool,
social stuff. Whatever. Check it out. And yeah, if you like this stuff, you can leave us a review. We'd really appreciate it. Or if you just want to just keep listening, we'd appreciate that too. So, but yeah, that's gonna do it for us. So we got one more horror episode for you, and it's gonna be a doozy. So hang in there, guys, and well, you'll hear from us. We won't see you. I won't ever see you.
Yes.
So don't worry about that. You will hear this
Thanks
voice
for listening. Yes.
in a week.